This episode of McCall's Quilting Quilt-Along is brought to you by Moda, producer of quilting fabric and home of the fabric pre-cuts.
Today we're going to work on section B, which are the log cabin blocks. So before you can start sewing log cabins, you have to think about one thing that's really important, and that's your seam allowance. And I'll show you why. If your seam allowance, let's say your seam allowance is just 1/16 of an inch off, okay? Well, if you're going across here, 1, 2, 3, 4 little seams that direction, and this direction, 1, 2, 3, 4 little seams, well, 4/16 of an inch add up to an entire 1/4 of an inch. You can be 1/4 of an inch off if your seam allowance is just 1/16 of an inch off, okay, across the width of the block. So to make sure your 1/4 inch seam allowance is where you want it to be, here's what you can do. Cut 3 pieces of fabric that are 1.5 inches by 4 inches, all right? 3 little pieces like that. And you're gonna sew them together with your 1/4 inch seam. Press them open and measure.
This episode of McCall's Quilting Quilt-Along is brought to you by Moda, producer of quilting fabric and home of the fabric pre-cuts.